This episode is proudly brought to you by G Recovery, the Central Coast's leading destination for health, wellness, and performance recovery. From infrared saunas and compression therapy to ice baths and soft tissue treatments, they've got all the science-backed tools to help you feel and perform at your very best. Head to grecovery.com.au to book your next session or learn more. That's grecovery.com.au. We got the tick.
She's on.
She's on. Well, I'm good when you are.
All right.
Do like a deep breathing for like.
Take a deep breath. Well, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm like deep breathing. I'm like, I'll be here all day.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Anytime.
Yeah, I'm keen. I think, at least for me, I don't know much about the space that you're in, but I think it's something that will resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
To start us off, I know you've done a bit of everything in the space of fitness, health, wellness.
Yeah, I like to say I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a master at none. I've done a little bit of everything, but generally I started in the fitness industry. I have a pretty athletic background in terms of being really competitive in sport when I was younger, and so fitness has always been a part of my life. And in high school, I started training at the gym, and from there, I decided I wanted to study my PT course, not because I actually wanted to train anyone, but I was just ready to learn, and I just wanted to be able to apply it to my own training. And once I got that certificate, I started thinking like, oh, maybe I should do a comp. I feel like so many PTs do it. You just think, oh, yeah, maybe I should do a comp. Then I'll have the skills to be able to help someone else do a comp if they want or whatever. So I went down the bodybuilding path, and it was not for me. The training, totally not a problem, but the food, I ended up with a really bad relationship with food, and that took me down, not a very good path. But it was more so like getting on the actual stage. Hated it.
Yeah, right.
Hated it. I hated being in the bikini. I hated the tan. I hated parading around. I hated it.
Yeah. What like anything specific? Was it in front of an audience? Was it the?
Oh, I think in front of an audience, and the fact that you're literally being judged on what you look like. You're being, it's not just about the way you look; it's the way that you perform and you entertain and stuff. But you're essentially being judged on what you look like, and that is so much pressure. And I just remember thinking on stage, like, just get me off. Like, I just want this to be over. I actually walked the wrong way on stage.
No.
Yeah, I was meant to do I can't even remember what it's called, a T-walk or something, and I actually just walked straight on and walked straight over to the other end of the stage and just stood there. So it was pretty embarrassing. But yeah, sort of did the bodybuilding thing, wasn't for me. Ended up with a pretty bad relationship with food, and had pretty disordered eating for was probably about 5-6 years, to be honest. And when I moved back from Sydney, I started working back at G6, which is where I worked before I was in Sydney. And I just decided that if I was going to be working in a boxing gym, I should know how to box. And so I started doing a few training sessions with my sister, like doing the classes, and I really loved it. And I ended up doing red versus blue, as you have too. Went down the red versus blue path and just like fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like the first time in a really long time that I had trained to build a skill or be good at something, rather than train to look a certain way or change the way I am. Yeah. And that was just the biggest, I don't know, weight off my shoulders.
Definitely, yeah.
Especially
for like just a sporting option. Yeah, if you're focused on what you look like and that's the measure of success, it's pretty taxing to your self-esteem if you get it wrong or if you fail.
Absolutely. Or even if, you go bodybuilding, you go to a comp, you don't place.
Mm.
In your head, you're being told, I don't look good enough.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And some people thrive off that, they use it as constructive criticism. And that's why some people are so successful bodybuilding. And there are people who are made for bodybuilding. And then there are the other people that it just doesn't fare well, time after time again.
Yeah.
That feeling of not being good enough and not looking good enough. And so, boxing it, it gives you something to focus on, skill-based, performance-based, and you're doing something that not everyone has the courage to do. Not everyone is prepared to be punched in the face.
Yeah.
And that's a buzz.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's cool. Anyway.
It is. No, I agree. It's not for everyone, but it's definitely an experience that will teach everyone something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. You learn so much about yourself.
Mm.
And I often say this to my mums, if you haven't boxed, you got to try it, because nothing beats being able to go to the gym and punch something after a hard day of parenting, and they're all like, oh, I'm too scared. I won't know what to do. But the coaches will look after you and they will make sure that you can do whatever they've got on the board, So it's just an outlet that you won't get anywhere else.
100%. I have so many memories of rocking up to Saturday sparring and then in comes Anna with the pram and she's wrapping her hands as she's tending to the pram.
I used to bring them in. That was when they were in capsules, man. And when they were in capsules, it was so easy because all they did was sleep. I just carried the capsules in. Ali would hold the kids, They were happy to go to anyone for a cuddle, and I just got to go in and do my thing and leave. And I miss those days because I could not take them into the gym now. They would just destroy the joint. So, I miss those days where I could bring them in with me. But
yeah, you mentioned at the start you had a bit of a experience with disordered eating.
Yeah. So I remember in high school when I finished competitive swimming and I used to do surf lifesaving and stuff. And when I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, I was turning into that teenage girl. I just wanted to go out and underage drink, and I didn't want to go to training or competitions on the weekends. I had other plans. I wanted to go hang out at Erina on a Friday night. So once I sort of stopped doing all that sport, I put on a lot of weight, and that was new for me because I'd been so fit my whole life. And I don't know, guess being in high school and the pressures of, wanting to fit in and be small, it's so hard. And I remember, it started with I was binge eating, and then, I'd make myself sick, and sort of went on and off for a few years. And then it sort of eased a bit, and I thought, oh, good, I'm over that now. And then I started the bodybuilding, and, in hindsight, certainly that was not the best thing for me to do where my headspace was at that point in time. But still, I learned a lot about myself through bodybuilding, what was for me and what was not for me. And so I don't regret doing it, It also brought things to a head where I eventually got to this point where I was like, I need help. I can't do this on my own anymore. Because, this went on for years and not a soul knew, no one knew. So I went and saw a dietitian, and she really helped me. I don't think I would have actually been able to change things if it wasn't for her, because she was the first person that I actually said to, I've got a problem and I need help. And then the boxing, it just really took away from being so worried about what I looked like, and made it so much more about what I was capable of and the potential I had to do something performance-based rather than looking a certain way.
Yeah, I think it's so common as well, at least in the psychology space, when you're treating eating disorders. Someone might look like they've resolved from one and they've just transferred to a different one.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because, especially when you go from binge eating to starving yourself to going back, it's just this cycle.
Vicious cycle.
And it's hard because people will praise you for different aspects of it. And so when it's like reinforced because people go, oh, you look great, like whatever it is, you're sitting there going, oh, I didn't eat this morning. Like, I'm going to do that again.
Yeah.
What were the key takeaways from seeing a dietitian?
So she just really walked me through the process of, I guess, having a balanced lifestyle where like we don't need to restrict, we need to focus on making sure that you're getting the nutrients you need to perform, and walking me through more of the emotional triggers and stuff that can sort of bring on the episodes where, like you said, I remember being, in a phase where I would all of a sudden get to this day and I'd be like, oh my God, it's been 5 days since I made myself vomit. Like we're on the up here, like you're making progress. And then all of a sudden it would be like, you'd wake up and then not eat until dinner. And then you've transferred into this phase of, well, I might not be making myself vomit, but now I'm not eating.
Yeah.
And so,
It still serves the same function.
yeah. So it was sort of like moving through like one bad thing to another bad thing. But yeah, I just remember with her really focusing on the nutritional benefits of performance, but just taking that pressure off, constantly counting calories and always choosing the low calorie option, and just having more of a balanced lifestyle where you can actually enjoy food instead of be anxious about food. But it was, super slow process. But yeah, it was just like small changes over time that eventually added up. And then, all of a sudden I remember one day being like, oh my God, it's been a year. It's been a year. Like, and thinking like, this is over now. So yeah, it's wild.
When you talk about the kind of physical effects of that, there's also the mental effects, just how like in a rut it can get you can get you stuck like very quickly. What was your experience with the more mental health side of it?
Oh, I think the mental health side of things it wasn't just then about being disappointed with the way I looked. I remember constantly feeling disappointed in myself that I've done it again. You're doing it again.
Yeah.
You promised you weren't going to do this anymore. Yeah, it's like shame and guilt because you told yourself you weren't going to do this anymore. And then, oh no, look, here we are again. You're doing it again. And it was just like, that vicious cycle of not liking what you see in the mirror and then just being so disappointed in yourself for not doing what you said you would do and leading yourself back down this path over and over and over again. So it's, you've just end up with very low self-worth and no self-belief because you're like, oh, you couldn't even fucking do that.
Yeah.
How hard is it? Like, you couldn't even do that one day, so it's just, really challenging in terms of the way you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the key theme for this episode at least was flexibility, if I was to put one word to it.
Yeah.
And one thing when I was doing prep for this episode was, and I didn't even read it, it was just an insight that I came to. And very quickly online, I found some pretty bad misinformation. And I'm sitting there looking at it for the first time, thinking if I was 14, 15, and a girl looking at this advice, I would be so confused. And I might say to myself, I'm going to follow this advice for 4 weeks and then I'm going to do something else. And I think it's so easy to get lost. No one knows where to look. And funny because this will get posted to social media as well. But I do try to steer people away from social media advice. I found weightlifting makes you bulky. Stupid amounts of cardio is the only way to get fit, which in the video's context meant skinny.
Yeah.
And carbs make you fat. All of these like dietary based advice that, might provide a short-term fix for someone or it might provide some short-term feedback, but they weren't sustainable.
Long-term.
What are the biggest misconceptions you see in that space?
Yeah, so 2 of them you mentioned for sure. So carbs are bad. Carbs are going to make you fat. If you want to lose weight, cut carbs. That is one of the biggest ones. And, I will have chats with women on the phone and they'll say to me, oh, I'm really good. I eat low carb. And I'm like, mate, there's nothing good about eating low carb. Carbs give you energy. When we eat carbs, we're also less miserable.
Yeah.
You cut carbs out, you might lose some water weight because essentially every gram of carbs that you consume holds about 4 grams of water. So when we cut carbs, you look less bloated, you lose water weight. Over time, the only reason that you're losing weight is because of the deficit you've put yourself in by cutting the carbs back, which you could do if you just kept the carbs in but brought your overall calories down. That way you don't have to restrict anything. But people don't understand that. They just see the loss is from cutting carbs. Now, now that I'm past all my shit and I'm, however many years down the track, a life without carbs is a miserable life. It's just, you take the joy out of life, man. Like, carbs are life. And apart from that side of things, just enjoying food, they give us energy. How are you meant to get through your workouts with any sort of intensity when you don't eat carbs? It's no wonder you can't build any muscle or get toned. Like, you're not eating any carbs, man. Like, it's just, double-edged sword. And then we've got lifting weights. Yeah. So that's the other main one. I don't want to get too bulky.
Yeah.
I don't think it's again such a misconception. People think as soon as you start lifting weights, you're going to blow up. But like,
I wish it was the case.
Oh, mate, I wish it was that easy. Like, and a lot of the people or women that, the average human sees, or as a mum who doesn't know what it actually takes to build muscle, they see these women who are muscular and they just think, oh my God, it's because they lift weights. Like, they have no idea that it's because they've been lifting weights for 10 to 20 years. They've been controlling their nutrition for 10 to 20 years, trying to build muscle.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. Like, it doesn't even happen in weeks or months, it takes years. So they're probably the two biggest ones. But yeah, and the cardio thing, that I feel like that is just such an old-fashioned way of thinking. We need to be doing heaps of cardio. We need to be running. We need to be doing aerobics and step classes and cycle classes. That's going to keep you skinny, not muscly. So
there's so much out there.
Oh, so much out there. And like you said, it's so overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't do this, do this, don't do this, do this.
Yeah. I think health hacks as a whole is a challenging topic because some people might provide good information. Like, is it evidence-based training? Adam's
Yeah. Yep.
Like, always pushes calorie deficit. And it's so true.
Yeah.
But in the same sentence, it's like, if you just label that as a health hack, then you're also putting in the keto diet people and saying, oh, they've got health hacks as well. And some of them are, wild as.
Yeah.
So I think it's dangerous because, we don't know who to decipher or what to decipher as good information and whatnot.
Yeah.
How much do you think social media plays a role in that?
Oh, I think it plays a huge role because you're right. Like, it's hard to know, like, who do you trust? Who do you trust? Who do you take information from? Who do you not take information from? And I think, too, a lot of the time when people are giving out health hacks, they're normally restrictive or they're, what's that word? When people, clickbait.
Yes.
They're clickbait. They're controversial because they're trying to get attention. They're trying to draw people to their page. They don't always have accurate or helpful information. It's more about getting attention.
Yeah, it's overgeneralized. Yeah.
Totally. Or like you said, they're generalized. So they're not health hacks that are tailored to each individual. They generalize so that the information is not helpful to everyone. But they don't voice that or they don't make that known. And so the average human will look at that information and think, well, that's the same for everyone. But it's not. What works for one person doesn't work for another. And you got to take into account the individual needs of each person when you're giving out like health hacks that are so general or broad.
Yeah, it's so true. And everyone's got different goals. Like, a training program for boxing is going to be different for just growing a bum.
Totally. Or like just, what I come across, most of the mums I work with, they don't have any specific goals in terms of certain parts of their body. They just want to build general overall strength, but they're looking at every influencer's page, which is all about growing glutes or, getting a six pack, and it's not relevant to what's going on in their life right now, but get this free information off the internet and you use it. So yeah, it's hard.
How much do hormones play a role in women's training?
Oh, massive. So this is one I run all my clients through. So we'll do a quick rundown.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a quick rundown.
Yeah.
So in terms of training, when we are looking at, cycle syncing, for example, which is when a lot of people will tailor their training towards where they're at in their cycle. So if they've got certain dips in their cycle, that's when they might deload or back off a little bit. But this is another one where you can't generalize because not everyone feels the same throughout their different stages of the cycle. So for me, yes, your cycle can affect your performance and the way you feel. But I always just tell my clients, just go into every session with that attitude of I'm going to give it everything I've got. Because some days you might have 100% and you give 100%. And some days you might have 20 and you give 20%, but you've still given it everything you've got. But if you're walking into it thinking, oh, but I'm at this phase of my cycle, I do feel a little bit off, so I'm just going to take it easy. What's the point in taking it easy if you might not need it?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And even the research that I did supports that as well. Like there was a study done in 2021 and they did physical performance testing at every stage of the cycle, and they also did like self-report measures of how are you feeling, like how much can you give in this session, and there was no dip in self-reported attitude and performance. So performance was actually the same, and self-report was going up and down the whole time. But again, that's not to say that you will be able to do that.
Some people will obviously be more affected during their cycle than others at different stages. But I think it would be not ideal for every person to focus their training program around their cycle unless they do notice those huge adverse effects and it's consistent every cycle. I just think, go into every session ready to give it your best. Some days you're going to feel shit and sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
And that can happen even when you're not in one of the dips in your cycle. Some days or some weeks are just hard.
Totally relate. Yeah, I don't even go through a cycle and I'll go
like, men have that too, some weeks are just hard and you just push through, and some weeks are hard and you can't push through, but it's knowing when to push and when to pull. So knowing when you really need a rest and when you're just using it as an excuse. Be aware of where you're at in your cycle. So I encourage all my clients to track their cycle, because the more data you've got and the more you know about yourself, the more you can, I guess, be aware of how you're going to feel at what points in time, and you can relate the way you're feeling back to science. Like I have a lot of clients who don't realize how much their weight can fluctuate during their period. So they might do a check-in and their weight's gone up 1.5 kilos, and they're like, Anna, oh my God, my weight's gone up. I don't know what to do. I'm doing everything right, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say to them, where are you at in your cycle? And they'll go, oh, I'm due for my period tomorrow. And I'm like,
that's why.
There's your answer. Yeah. So the more data you have, the more you can, I guess, be at ease with seeing these fluctuations or noticing these changes, or even those weeks where you feel disappointed in yourself because you didn't perform like you wanted to, without putting that guilt and shame on yourself. You can go, oh, hang on a second. I am at this point in my cycle. Okay, well, that makes sense. I'm going to make note of that so that if this happens next time I'm at this point in my cycle, we can sort of watch for patterns and be able to relate them back to where we are at in our cycle without going into panic mode of I'm not doing enough. Why is this happening? I don't understand. Oh, we better cut calories because my weight's gone up. It's the more you can know about yourself, the more detailed you can be with where you're at, what you're doing, what you want, and not panicking in those moments.
Yeah, the more data you can go like, oh, at this stage of my cycle, last time I put on 1 kilo here, well, it's just relative to my cycle, not my diet.
It's not fat. And you get more comfortable with, you see that fluctuation and you go, oh, well, rather than, oh my God,
Yeah, freaking out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even to come back to the social media point, I think I saw a video saying like from I forget who it was, but she was like ripped, and she took a video of herself like obviously at the point in her cycle where she was like skinniest, and she took a photo and she goes, "This is what I look like in this part," and then
Yeah.
she took one, and it was so different.
Yeah.
But again, you look at her social media page, you go, "Oh, she looks like that all the time."
Yeah.
And yeah, you'd be totally wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
No one posts photos of themselves below. Like,
Yeah.
generally speaking, people don't show that side of things because that's what society has programmed us not to do, you know? Instagram is a highlight reel. You know, people say that all the time. Instagram is a highlight reel, and it's not often that people show the hard bits or the less desirable bits. And so it is very easy to look at someone's page and go, "Oh my God, why don't I look like that all month?" Until they post something real like that and you go, "Oh my God, she's just like me."
Yeah.
You know, but generally people aren't posting that other side of things.
Pre and postpartum training.
Yes.
Let's start with pre.
Yeah.
What was your experience and what were your takeaways?
So prepartum, I was so lucky. I did not vomit once my whole pregnancy, which is like unheard of because obviously I was pregnant with the twins. So you would have thought I would have been really, really sick. But anyway, I was not sick. I did not vomit once my whole pregnancy. And so I think too, I have trained my whole life. And so I trained up until I was 35 weeks pregnant. And then I was like, "Oh God, yeah, I really can't do this anymore." But it wasn't hard for me to do that because A, I wasn't sick. But B, it was already part of my life. And so it wasn't like I was trying to overhaul anything. It was just like I was just doing what I already did before. But C, I had it in my head, once the twins are here, you are not going to just be able to pack your shit and go to the gym. You can't just go whenever you want.
Yeah,
Like,
you're no longer a free human.
No. And so in my head, I was looking at every session like, "Oh, how good is this? You're getting in there for one more session." Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Money in the bank.
Right, exactly. So it's, I guess, for me, it wasn't hard for me to keep showing up because that's what I love to do. So my experience prepartum was good, but not everyone's going to have that, you know. I've had so many friends who have HG and who have spewed the whole way through. And obviously when you can't keep that food in, you got no energy.
Yeah.
So lethargic, so sluggish, you're exhausted.
Yeah. It's actually not even going to be beneficial for you to go to the gym.
No, and so everyone's experience is different. But if you are well, and again, it's going to depend on what you were doing before you fell pregnant. If you were not active before you were pregnant, you're not going to go and overhaul your whole fitness regime and all of a sudden start going to the gym 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, that's not safe.
Yeah.
But if you were training beforehand, you can essentially just keep doing what you were doing beforehand within reason, you know, pulling things back when things start to feel hard or painful or uncomfortable. But yeah, for me, you know, I wanted to be strong because I knew, you know, once they were here, you know, I had to carry 2 frigging capsules and, you know, I didn't breastfeed, so I didn't have to worry about, you know, being stuck in this sort of bad postural position for hours on end. But I did have to hold them and I had to carry things and, you know, lean over cots and do all that stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I was strong so that when they came, you know, I wasn't in pain 24/7. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that I did have as strong as a pelvic floor as I could when I came back because, you know, I do box and I skip and I run and I jump and that's what I like to do. And I didn't want to be worried about pissing myself 24/7. Like, that's generally, like, that's what I didn't want to have to worry about pissing my pants all the time running across the road. So for me, I ended up having a C-section, but from day 5 at home, I was doing pelvic floor work.
Yeah.
Because that's just what,
Yeah.
you know, not everyone's going to be in the headspace that they want to do that. But for me, pelvic floor work is the most boring, brain numbing stuff you can do. But for me, it was a movement. And I was like, anything I can do. I
It's
just wanna
also
do
like
something.
so beneficial.
Oh,
Yeah.
so beneficial. And like, I've never had a problem with weeing again, I didn't have a natural birth, so things are a bit different, but I still had a lot of pressure on my uterus for 9 months. So,
Yeah.
it's just pre and postpartum training or exercise can benefit you massively during pregnancy, during childbirth, and then postpartum.
Definitely. What would the advice be for someone that maybe has like a moderate training regime and is going into like the starting phase of pregnancy? Would you start to taper it off early? Would you maintain it for a certain amount of weeks?
I would obviously, it's based around how you feel and how your body essentially reacts to the exercise that you're doing, or the resistance you're putting it under. But the best advice I could give is you need to do what feels comfortable to you. For some people, I know chicks who were CrossFitters. They got pregnant and they worked CrossFit up until they gave birth. And like that's intense. That's hard work.
Yeah.
That's hard work. That's high heart rate, but whatever your body is used to, whatever stimulus it's used to, whatever it's used to being put through, you can essentially keep going with that until it gets to a point where you're like, this is not right. It's not comfortable. It's hurting. That's when you need to start pulling it back.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean smash yourself as hard as you can, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what about diet?
Diet, I think, again, it varies. Some people experience really hectic cravings. Like I remember,
I was going to ask you if you had any crazy cravings.
I didn't have crazy cravings, but I remember in my first trimester, I was doing classes at G6 Tuggerah on the Wednesday night. And I remember every night I would leave Tuggerah, I would go through Macca's drive-through and get chips.
I just saw you in there all the times, eh?
Dead set. I was always going through drive-through to get chips. And I remember thinking like, oh, fuck, this is probably not good. But that's just what I wanted. I wanted it and I was like, oh, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to roll with it. And literally once that first trimester was over, it just stopped.
Yeah, right.
So, but again, like not everyone has that. And I think too, it depends on whether you go into it with that mindset of I'm eating for two and you use it as an excuse to like feed those cravings, or you go into it with, the headspace of, what, this is what my body's craving and I'm going to give it some of that. But the other 60% of the time, I'm going to keep nourishing myself with the things that I know are going to make me feel good.
Yeah.
Because that's also what my body needs to make this baby healthy, So it's nutrition again. If you were not super healthy before pregnancy, then you're generally not going to overhaul your diet while you're pregnant. You can definitely make changes, but the headspace is probably not going to be there.
Yeah.
So it would just be a matter of making small changes, or better choices.
Yeah. Making it actually achievable.
Yeah, but like if you were already eating well before pregnancy, like there's a high chance that's your lifestyle, and so you continue to do that throughout pregnancy. Depends really where you're at beforehand, I would say.
And what about postpartum? So we're going through like the most intense physical experience you can have. How much rest do you need? How quickly do you get back into things? How do you start? And what should you focus on?
Totally. So it'll depend on whether you had a C-section or you've had a natural birth, whether you've had a natural birth, if you've got a hectic tear. But yeah, obviously childbirth, preface this, I did not have a natural birth. I had a C-section and I elected to have the C-section.
Is there stigmas around that? You like put your hands up and
it depends who you talk to. I just am like, I don't want it to look like I'm talking from experience. I did not have a natural birth.
Okay.
I chose not to have one. Someone said to me, no one gives you a medal for doing it the hard way. And in my head, I'm like, I'm having to, I'm not doing it. So I had the C-section. So it's going to depend on, whether you had the C-section, whether you had a natural birth, because when you have a natural birth, your uterus is working so hard and using so much energy to shorten and tighten during the contractions. From what I remember, like your uterus it uses more energy during contractions and childbirth than your muscles do during a workout, doing exercises. So it's so metabolically taxing, the process of childbirth. And, some people pop them out within an hour, and some people it's 48 to 72 hours of pushing. And then sometimes they still get a C-section. So they've got to recover from both.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what childbirth actually looked like for you and your prepartum fitness and strength levels. But if you were just starting out, obviously you always need your doctor's clearance. Like, that's number one. But generally speaking, if you've had a C-section, it's about 6 weeks until you can start lifting anything over 5 kilos.
Yep.
If you've had a natural birth and you didn't have a really bad tear or the tear's fully healed, you can start moving earlier than that. But
Is that for risk of like re-injuring yourself?
yes. So a lot of the time, whether you've had a C-section or a natural childbirth, you've got weakened pelvic floor muscles, but you've also, not everyone gets ab separation, but it's super, super common.
Like a herniation?
Yeah, no, so not a herniation. So ab separation is when the muscles essentially, or the connective tissue that runs down the middle, that sort of holds your abs together, that separates because you stretch during childbirth. And when that separates, you leave yourself open to poor core strength, back pain. A lot of the time women experience really bad back pain when they've got ab separation. And if you don't address those issues, so the pelvic floor, the ab separation, you leave yourself open to injury, prolapse, thank God you never have to experience prolapse. So prolapse essentially is when, and I laugh not because it's funny, but because it's so hectic, but basically when you've
I'm genuinely fearful.
when you've got weakened pelvic floor muscles, your internal organs can drop into or out of your vagina. They drop out of position. Yeah. So you like, no thanks.
Yeah.
We want to avoid that.
Fuck that.
Yeah, we really want to avoid that. So definitely we want to be fixing the pelvic floor and the deep core muscles before we even think about getting onto the gym floor and picking up anything heavy.
Yeah.
So
it's not just like a doctor's advice. It's like a don't.
Don't. I wouldn't, like, I don't know, unless you want to have a prolapse, it's up to you. But I wouldn't. I'd be doing anything to try and avoid that. So fixing those problems first. And, you can work on body weighted movements like, body weighted glute work, or just getting in your cardiovascular work by walking, getting your steps in, working on the deep core muscles, so like your transverse abdominals, before you start sort of getting into any heavy lifting or anything like that. Definitely no jumping or not in the early days anyway. Yeah.
What's a healthy expectation to have? Your body's just naturally going to be different to what it was pre-pregnancy.
Yeah.
How do you work with people to go like, hey, this is just like something that's just natural. You're not going to be able to look as fit as you were when you were 18 anyway. Like, age is still a thing. But talking about pregnancy in terms of physical changes, what can you expect to see there?
So most of the time, what women are most uncomfortable with post-pregnancy is usually their stomach, particularly if they've had a C-section. They're always talking about the pouch. I want to get rid of my mum pouch. And there's always a lot of, I want to get back to my pre-baby body. And for some people, it's just not possible. For some people it is, but we need to take the pressure off wanting to get back to where we were before, because things have changed now. A lot of the time, some people have one kid, regardless of whether you have one or you have 5. Things are very different to what they were before, physically and generally. You are not just taking care of yourself anymore, you're taking care of another person or many little people. You've got less time, you're getting less sleep. There are so many things that play a role. And so it's not always possible to get back to where you were beforehand, because there's less time, there's less rest, there's less options to prioritize you and what you need. And so it's more about finding the new norm, what can I do that's going to get me feeling the best that I can without thinking to myself, I need to get back to that pre-baby body. Asking yourself, do I feel stronger? Do I feel more fit? Am I moving better than I was before? It's so hard when we put so much pressure on ourselves to get back to what we used to be. But things have changed. So you've got to try and find your new norm. And I guess set goals that are not always so focused on the way you look.
Yeah.
Come back to that what size you are.
Yeah, that first point of it's not about the actual physical aesthetic measure. It's like, do you feel good? Are you strong? Like, yeah, it's not just what size jeans are you.
No. And that's one thing that women always, they do struggle to sort of transition into that different mindset where you are not so focused on aesthetics and it's about the way you move and the way you feel. And yeah, it can take a bit of transitioning, that's for sure.
How was your experience with that?
Mine was hard. I struggled more so with not the physical side of things. Mine was the mental side of things. So I was so used to training 6, 7 times a week and being able to pack up and go for a run or, mine was, I struggled with the transition of, all of a sudden, it sounds stupid, but yeah, obviously I used to train so much. I dropped down to 3 sessions a week because that was just all I could manage. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, only 3 sessions, How am I ever going to get as fit as I was or feel as strong as I was? Or what am I going to do if I can only train 3 times a week? And so it was this constant battle of just accepting that, like, it is okay. Like, things have changed. This is your new norm. This is what fits into your lifestyle the way that it is right now. Like, it's not possible for you to go to the gym that many times a week anymore. So I guess, mine was definitely not struggling with the physical side of things, but more the mental side of things of the things that are not as accessible or just not possible anymore.
Just learning to kind of balance that.
Yes, and be okay with it. Be okay when things don't go to plan. When you miss a session, being like, okay, it's okay. Like, rather than being like, when am I going to make up for that one? Like, there are no other days in the week that I can do that. Just being okay with sometimes things just don't go to plan, and that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. It leads me to the point of flexibility.
Yeah.
And that was like the main thing we wanted to chat about was post-pregnancy. Like, it is so much about, okay, yeah, what can I actually accept is a reasonable expectation of myself now.
Yeah.
And there's definitely adjusting to do there. But flexibility in terms of sleep, in terms of, the kind of food you're eating, you're probably not going to be able to like eat a home cooked meal every night or whatever it is. Like, how do you adjust the expectation of not only your training regime, but just your lifestyle in general?
I think it's sort of mapping out what is doable, and picking your non-negotiables. So when I say picking your non-negotiables, though, you can't say training 6 days a week. That's my non-negotiable because it's not realistic. You almost need to think to yourself, okay, what's the bare minimum that I need for me to function and just feel remotely satisfied from week to week? What's the bare minimum? Start with the least effective dose. You can always build from that later down the track, but you got to figure out, what's the least I can do to make myself feel good or feel satisfied on this new journey, and mapping out then the non-negotiables. So for me, it was going, okay, training every second day. That's going to bring me about 3 days a week. That's doable. And let's just start there. And then it might be, going, all right, I don't have time on a Sunday to prep my breakfast, lunch, and dinner anymore. I just don't. So I'm just going to work on doing my lunches and my dinners, and then maybe I'll do breakfast in the morning when I wake up or whatever it might be. But starting with the smallest step and tackling that, because like I said, wherever you start, if you start small, you can always build from there. But if you start really big and you're not realistic, that's when you don't always get to, I guess, finish those things. Or if you don't live up to that huge high expectation, that's when you start to feel shit about yourself. That's when you start to beat yourself up. So I think,
Yeah,
start
you're not
small.
going to succeed if the bar is like
So high.
Yeah.
So high. And like, don't get me wrong, you do want to set the bar high for yourself in terms of, there's nothing wrong with wanting more for yourself or having a high expectation of yourself. But the bar needs to be set in a place where it's not unachievable. If you're setting the bar so high that it's just not possible for you to hit that mark, you're just going to be constantly living in this state of mind where you never feel good enough and you're always failing, because you didn't get X, Y, and Z done.
What about the inverse of someone that says like, I have no time to train?
Yeah. So this is one that I find quite often, not having time as a parent.
Or even just with full
Or
time
just in
work.
general. Yeah, just in general. Even if you're not a parent, like no one has time. Everyone is busy in their own right and in their own reality. Everyone is busy. It depends whether you are willing to make time. And, especially for a mum, making time doesn't mean you need an hour every single day to work out or to meal prep. Making time could be setting aside 20 minutes to do some pelvic floor and core work in those early days every second day. 20 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It doesn't mean you don't need endless amounts of time to get results or to improve your lifestyle. You need to find a routine or a plan that fits in with your lifestyle the way that it is now. And a lot of the time, there are pockets of time during the day where things can be done, but the most common thing we fill those gaps with is scrolling, doom scrolling. Like if you counted all the minutes that you sat on your phone scrolling and looking at people doing shit that you probably want to do.
Yeah.
And you added them all up.
Could be doing it.
Exactly. But people are just in that mindset where they're like, oh, but I'm so burnt out. I just want to sit here and take my mind off it for a minute. But, something's got to give.
Yeah, you got to get intentional with it.
Yeah.
Especially with the, like, I'm going to use my phone to have some downtime. Like, we spoke about this on the phone before. It's actually, you're not having downtime. You're feeding your brain more information.
Yeah.
You'd be better off going, I'm going to be intentional with having downtime. I'm going to go sit outside for 10 minutes and just listen to things and like ground myself. And that's going to provide 40 times the benefits than sitting on your phone for half an hour will.
100%. And yeah, it's often the thing where like, at the end of the day, mum just wants to flop on the lounge or get into bed and scroll. But then you're also setting yourself up into this bad sleeping habit or this poor sleep health where before bed you are just elevating your cortisol and your brain is ticking while you're scrolling. Then it comes time to go to bed and you might get in an hour and a half and then Bub wakes up and you're up again. And, you might be getting woken up multiple times throughout the night.
It actually takes your brain an hour, I guess an hour, it could be more, to switch off from the last moment that you look at screens. So if you sit on your phone and go, I'm just going to scroll until I fall asleep, you're actually not going to go to sleep for an hour until and you might fall into like a light sleep, but you're not getting any productive rest.
That's it. And when you are potentially being woken up multiple times a night by kids and whatnot, your sleep is already screwed. So you want to be doing everything that you can to improve the sleep that you are getting. So that might mean, improving what you do before you go to bed, making sure one of the tasks that I set most of my mum clients, if they've flagged with me that, they do tend to scroll before bed or they stay up watching TV until really late, is putting their phone away 30 minutes before they go to bed. So that means like you don't take it into bed with you. You put your phone down 30 minutes before you actually get into bed so that you are totally switched off. And I encourage them to read or something, where you're actually, your brain's still switched on while you're reading, but it's a different type of stimulus.
I think there was a misconception a while ago that it was the blue light that was keeping you up, and it's actually not. It's so you can, if having your brain like occupied on something actually helps you get to sleep, reading a book is great. But if you don't like reading, putting a mindless Netflix show on low brightness for like 20, 30 minutes is actually fine. It's about it's the cortisol. So if you're watching something that you're engaged in and you're like keen, like, what is it? The Summer I Turned Pretty or something, which everyone was watching, like, don't watch it before bed because you're going to want to watch the next thing, or you're going to think about it. Like,
totally.
put on something boring and you'll go to sleep like that.
100%. Like if you put on a doco.
Yeah.
So I find that like the true, like I love true crime. And I went through this phase ages ago where it was before the kids were born. I couldn't sleep. And so I started trying to listen to podcasts while I was trying to fall asleep, but like true crime podcasts. And so I couldn't switch off because I'm like, tell me what happens next. But the minute I started listening to ocean sounds and stuff, I started to be able to just wind down a lot easier. But yeah, it's the same as Netflix and stuff. If I put on something that I actually want to watch, say goodbye to going to bed. But if I put on something super, super boring, like a documentary, a historical documentary or something, I'm out. Like the voice drones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. So it definitely depends what you are stimulating yourself with before you go to bed. But yeah, I think just if you're being woken up multiple times a night, it's about trying to just improve the quality of the sleep that you are getting because it's out of your control. You can't control how many times your kid's going to wake you up at night, unfortunately. Some people are lucky their kids sleep through and some people struggle with being woken.
I think like sleep is so important. Not enough people pay attention to it. And like, again, I don't have kids. I can't relate to that. But my experience with like concussion and like post-concussion syndrome of sleeping 16 hours a night to then sleeping like nothing. And it's your brain's like natural feedback. And the days where I would sleep 2 hours, 3 hours, it's hard.
Yeah.
And you are not enjoyable to be around the next day.
No.
And the expectations that like you have on yourself need to change for those days. And that was something that, I struggled with there because I'd wake up and go, I had a bad night's sleep. I've got to go do, X amount of things. And it's just not achievable. Like the moment you're getting 2 hours of sleep, like you need to be clearing your plate for the bare minimum of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just again, like the least effective dose, not the least effective dose, the minimum effective dose. Because you're right. Like when you're only getting 2, 3, 4, even 5 hours of sleep, you're irritable, your appetite is all over the shop because you end up with cravings. Like you're more likely to make poor food choices. You're stressed. Your cortisol's high. You're obviously not going to perform very well when you haven't had enough sleep. You're not getting any recovery. You're not getting any rest. So many different things come into it when you're not getting any sleep. So it's about sort of being kind to yourself on those nights where it is really bad and then making the most of it when you get the good nights of sleep, But
do you have like a routine for when you have a bad night? Like, is there something like a self-care ritual that you would engage in?
Not particularly. If we have I've been so lucky. The twins have slept through since they were quite young. So like
in a boxing
yeah, mate, they're used to chaos. So when they get home, I think too, because there was 2 of them, they sort of like settle each other, knowing that the other one is in there. Like they've always been in there and room together. And anyway, they've always slept through. But when they do have a bad night, it is so bad and so hard. And I always think to myself, like, how do these parents who have kids who wake up multiple times a night, every night, actually survive? Because when I have one bad night, I'm like, this is fucked. Like, I don't know how I'm going to survive this day. And it's, again, a matter of, if I'm meant to be training that day, just going, you know what, I'm just going to show up and whatever I do is whatever I do. I'm still going to go. But if it's a shit session, it's a shit session. Like,
yeah.
And
It's just showing up for yourself in some way.
yeah. And then being okay if it doesn't go to plan. But yeah, I always think at the beginning of the day, I don't know how I'm going to get through this day. And then I do, I survive. But yeah, again, like hats off to those parents who are up all night, every night, because I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah.
It's hectic.
The guilt and like of self-prioritization, that was something that I found as well. Like so many parents report feeling guilty for like just doing something for themselves when they do have kids.
Yeah.
How do you maintain like being, I don't want to say independent, because I think that's like a dangerous narrative of like being like you're a family, like you are a joint unit.
Yeah.
But if you want to show up in the best way you can for your family, you need to prioritize yourself.
Totally.
How do you help people understand that like, hey, you going and having 30 minutes to yourself or whatever is achievable is actually more beneficial than you just like sticking it out? How do you like help people there?
It's hard. I find that it's always sort of in the more early stages of parenthood that's when people struggle with prioritizing themselves in terms of working on their fitness, or it comes down to, like, a healthy mum's a happy mum, and like a healthy mum doesn't mean a super fit mum or someone who loses weight really quickly. Like, a healthy mum is someone who just takes care of herself, and that might mean, doesn't even have to mean exercise in general. It could mean taking 30 minutes out to go and have a stretch, breathe, because taking yourself away sometimes, that's what you need. Sometimes you need to remove yourself from the environment you're in, because I know for me, when I'm in those moments of high stress, when everything's really, really hard, all I need to do is take that step away, remove myself, to then sort of come back down to reality and be like, you are making a mountain out of a molehill. Like, what's going on in the house right now, it's really not that bad. But you're so high up here.
Yeah, it's that fight or flight.
Yeah, you're in fight or flight mode all day, every day.
Yeah.
Taking that time out, it gives you a moment to actually come back down to earth and go, okay, hang on a minute. This is not as bad as it seems. And when you don't take yourself away for that half an hour or that hour or whatever it is, you never get to come down.
Yeah.
You never get to come down. You're just up here all the time. And so being able to go, you know what, I am a better mum when I do give myself that 30 minutes or that hour every few days where I might go and exercise, or I might go for a walk, or I might take a long shower and wash my hair. Like,
just pause.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's no guilt with that. You shouldn't feel guilty for that, because at the end of the day, when you walk back into that house, you're going to be in a better headspace than if you had have stayed when you were up here and you didn't get to get back down here.
Yeah, 100%.
So
it's not even like, it's not reflective of someone's ability to handle chaos.
No.
Like, if you're sleep deprived and you're in a stressful environment, kids are like running around screaming, your amygdala is going to be triggered anyway.
Yeah.
And you actually don't have the cognitive ability to rationally think.
No.
So you do need to just remove yourself so that you can find that peace. And I encourage anyone who does struggle with, whatever, even just anxiety. Like, if I'm getting heightened and I can feel it, sitting in that isn't going to help. Like,
No.
and if I can ground myself in the moment, sure. But like, for most people, pulling yourself out is just the most effective way to do it.
Absolutely. And I think the more that you sort of exercise this taking time out for yourself, it doesn't mean, every day you take it. Like, if you can, half an hour to an hour every day, amazing. Like, out of it, 24 hours, that's not much.
Yeah.
The 24 hours that you give to everyone else, taking half an hour or an hour for yourself, it's not much to ask,
Yeah.
But it's getting into that habit or that routine where you can be okay with it. Taking that first step to actually go and do it and experience, hang on a minute, this does feel good.
Mm.
Hang on a minute, I actually don't feel guilty when I get back to the house because I'm more calm and they are more calm. Because a lot of the time, exactly, a lot of the time, like it's not actually their behavior or what they're doing that's stressing you out. It's the state that you're in
Mm.
is triggered by their behavior, but it's because you're already up here and it doesn't take much to tip you over the edge.
Yeah, the threshold is so low.
It's more of a reflection of where you're at. Like when you lose control in those moments where you're so stressed because of whatever's going on in the house, it's because of how you're already feeling, you know? You're wound up because you've already done X amount, loads of washing today. You've done everything for everyone. You've been everyone's chef, personal chef. You've had to make 3 different meals because everyone said, I don't want that. Like you're already so frustrated and you've done so much for everyone else. It doesn't take much for you to explode
Yeah.
and go, this is all too much for me. So yeah, scheduling that time out. You know, quite often mums find that hard initially, but I always say to them, like, the training or the exercise or the going to the gym, like, that's the good bit.
Mm.
You know, I'm not trying to,
Sure, yeah.
no, I'm not trying to give you a program that's going to make your life more stressful than it already is. But going to the gym, you know, that, and that's not to say you don't have to train at the gym. You can do it at home. It just, when you're at home, you tend to do it when the kids are there. So you're not getting that time out. So it's a little bit different. But when you go to the gym, it's like, that's the good bit. That's the bit where you get to go and you get an hour to yourself and you get to train and see yourself get stronger and fitter. And like, that's the good bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Put
not
some
the shit
headphones
bit.
on. Don't even listen to music. Just have time to
Silence.
silence. Yeah.
Silence, you know, like you need to almost like change the way you think about the movement bit. It's not a chore. It's not another thing that you have to do each week. It's something that you get to do each week.
Yeah.
That's for you, you know?
Yeah. How important are support networks?
Oh, massive, massive, like, and, you know, support in terms of family, but like friends or just even just people you can count on, not even to have the kids or whatever, but to talk to, you know, like that's why, you know, it doesn't matter like where you go, who you get coached by or whatever. But like for a lot of mums, it's really hard for them to get started because they don't have anyone to bounce off. And so if you can find a place where you can go and you can start to move or work out or whatever, and you've got that support network of a group of girls or a group of mums, like where you've all got the same questions and you've all got the same struggles, I find that a lot of the women that don't have a strong base of support with their family, that's where they thrive. They need that sort of community to get that support because
It
yeah.
does. It takes a community to raise a kid.
Oh, 100%. And like I said, it's not always about like someone to have the kids. It's about ease. Ease, you know, bums need a vent. So yeah, a support system is so important, whether it's family, friends, or the gym you train at, you know. And that's where sometimes training from home is good, but you also miss out on that social side.
Yeah. Just because it might be more efficient to the schedule doesn't mean it's going to be more beneficial.
Yeah. And so a lot of the time we see like mums will start training at home and then they get into this routine and they're like, you know what, I'm really enjoying this. I think it's time to go to the gym. And that's where they really thrive because not only are you getting that time out to yourself, but you get to socialize, you get to talk to people, you get to talk to adults, you get to have adult conversations. You know, you build rapport with other people who are training and the people who work behind the desk and the trainers and, you know, it's...
Even that small interaction is like just so nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. So a lot of the times it turns into more of a social thing, you know?
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
What are you looking at in space now? Do you have any goals?
Goals at the moment? Oh, I'm just trying to sort of get out there and help as many mums as I can because the thing that I've noticed more recently with like mums coming in the door is that their self-confidence is very, very low and the expectations that they have upon themselves are so high. So my goal is to be helping more mums understand that you don't need to be doing everything under the sun. You don't need to be training like your favorite influencer. You don't need to be eating like this person over here. Like, you need to do something that's manageable for you and your lifestyle and that you can maintain long term. Because the thing that I'm trying to sort of teach, women or mums is that whatever you do, whatever your goal is, whether it's strength, weight loss, you want to build more muscle, or you want to get fitter, you want to do a half marathon, whatever it is, whatever the goal is, whatever you do to get there, it really needs to be something that you can maintain long term, because whatever that outcome is, you're going to have to keep doing this bit along here to maintain that past this point, like where you actually hit the goal.
Yeah.
It needs to be maintainable. And as a mum, you need to be realistic about what's maintainable long term. Otherwise, you are going to end up on this yo-yo journey forever.
Yeah, it's so true.
So that's my goal. That was a long-winded answer. But my goal is just to be teaching women and mums that you don't need huge amounts of time, huge amounts of effort to live a better and more flexible, balanced lifestyle, and you don't need to be doing wild things to get results that aren't going to last long term. You need to find something that slots in with your lifestyle the way it is now.
Yeah. What's one thing that you're still learning?
Oh, still learning. I'm still learning that it can be so difficult to convince women that the scales are not the most accurate reflection of progress. I think every week it's like another learning curve for me with trying to really get that message across that the scale, your weight on the scales is not the most important thing, and it's not the best thing about you, like every week I've got another mum who's like, oh, the weight's not coming off this quickly, or the scales went up this week, and it's another like, I'm not going to say counseling session. I'm not a counselor, but it's like, just talking them through, this needs to change.
Yeah.
The scales are not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Performance-based goals or non-scale victories, that's what we need to focus on, So I think that's what I'm still learning, how to really drill it into people that the scales.
What about from a personal aspect?
From a personal aspect, like for me, what am I still learning? Oh my God. I'm still learning how to how to remove myself when I'm going into the red zone. It's
Anna's red zone is scary.
Oh, my red zone, man. Like, I just feel like the bedtime routine for me really sends me through the roof sometimes. So just learning how to regulate myself in moments where I'm feeling like this is fucked, it's all too much, and going, mate, it's really not a big deal. Like, you just need to relax. And I hate saying that because it's the most condescending thing when someone else says to you,
Yeah,
just relax. And you're like, don't you think if it was that easy, I would have done it? Like, so yeah, I guess.
It's definitely one piece of advice I can give is don't say that if you are the...
Don't say it. Don't say it. Yes, but in my own head, I'm still learning how to regulate myself in those moments where I'm very highly strung. I reckon on a day-to-day basis, that's literally what I'm working on. So I would definitely say that.
And where can people find you if they want to work with you or check out some of your stuff?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram. It is active_by Anna. So you can find me on Instagram. I post really good recipes every week. Don't want to toot my own horn, but recipes that are going to keep everything flexible and get you enjoying food again. So if you're a woman that's looking to make some lifestyle changes, you know where to find me.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been super
Anytime.
fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Thank you.
No worries. Look at that. Do you know, so many times I was like, I should look up my laptop, and I'm like, but I don't need to, like it's flowing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have confused myself.